so it's a very effective program. I personally have worked with this program my whole working career. Since I was 17 years old, I started out as a trapper and worked more or less with Gypsy Moth for, I'm 50 now, so that's a lot of years. We approach fighting Gypsy Moth infestations a lot like fighting fires. You're not going to come up in here and try to put out a fire. Very ineffective to fight the little fire. Where you're going to go is out here and try to stop these little fires that are getting ahead of the front from getting established. So another way of looking at it, if you were thinking of this as Virginia to the state line right here, and it's attempting to spread this way, then we try to find these little isolated pockets and knock these out and work it back, rather than try to do anything right up here along the state line so much. However, you can do some things along the state line, like the treatment block that we're proposing here has its analog in Virginia. They have a high catch and on their side too. So this treatment block would extend into Virginia. They try to push down the populations and try to keep it from getting to bad enough levels where it's defoliating and killing trees. The tools we use, you may have seen some of these around. We have these little orange boxes here. We call them delta traps, three-sided traps. They're cardboard, about a foot long or so. They're sticky on two sides inside. And on the dry side that doesn't have the stickiness on there, we put a little plastic strip that has the female pheromone on it. It's just stapled in there. And so it starts putting out this female pheromone scent, and the males are flying along looking for the female. And they come into this trap and get stuck. So we take these traps down and see how many males in there. This one has these 4 moths stuck in here. These traps only hold maybe 10 to 15 moths before they start getting too full. Because you can imagine the glue gets covered up, other bugs get in here, you can see a little junk in here, some leaves and things that sometimes get in there. And so it only holds 10 or 15 moths. If you get 10 or 15 in a delta trap and you feel like you have a very big population, it could be many times more. Sometimes when we're trapping in a certain site and we feel like it's going to build more quickly, we use this type of trap. This is what we call a milk curtain trap for obvious reasons. It's a high capacity trap. It has a piece of lure, the female pheromone lure hanging inside there, and there's little holes cut in right here, little window holes, and they'll fly in there and fall down in there. There's a little kill strip at the bottom, so the males will die. And you can literally catch hundreds of gypsy moths in this. You measure them by the inch. When you get down there, you don't count them individually. So we haven't used any in this area yet. I don't think we will this year because it's nowhere this high yet. The goal is to keep it getting that high. Once we set these traps and take them in, we do a lot of mapping and using GIS, Geologic Information Service. And so, for instance, on the Hatteras Island here, this is all these little triangles that you see through here are where we place traps. We have little target circles, and then we can go back and look at the end of the season and see where the numbers are and then graphically lay it out. In this area, this is Buxton Woods where the infestation was right here, the heaviest part of the infestation. We set all these little green dots are more traps, which is laid out on this map more closely. And we can go in and color code that, and you can see these greens are a few moths in here, and you get 1 or 2 in here, and all these grays are zeros. But then as you get closer to the core here, you get high numbers. And then you can tell geographically how widespread the infestation is and then base any treatments on that. It's also very important to educate people. I imagine most of you don't know much about gypsy moths until tonight, and so most people are unaware that, again, with this picture here, that these egg masses can be on anything. They can be on tree branches or whatever. If you're cutting tree branches and moving them out, anything that you move off your property like that, you ought to take a look at it. You have a big window of time, that 3/4 of the year from, I would say up here from maybe the 1st of September to middle of April, there's just going to be egg masses. And so, you can look one time at everything during that period of time and make sure it's clean from egg masses. You want to scrape them off and just dig a hole in the ground and bury them. That will take care of them if you find any. Probably more importantly is to get in contact with us and let us know if you find egg masses like that, because we'd like to know where they are if we have to do any follow-up. So how do we treat? This is how they did it back in the day. This is before I was 17. I did not climb any, well, I take that back. I've climbed trees looking for gypsy moth before, but these guys are all climbing trees, scraping off egg masses. These egg masses can be on any branch big enough to have that egg mass stick to it. So they're extending these ladders up and climbing all through this tree, and I don't see anybody laying on the ground, but I wouldn't imagine you have a very long career climbing trees and scraping egg masses. Retirement's not good enough for the state. So what do we do now instead? As I mentioned, there's a lot of very refined tools that we use. This is a list of the most common ones that are under consideration for areas like this. We have a sterile insect release where basically they rear caterpillars in the lab and irradiate them so that they're sterile, and then they release them into the areas where you think you have an infestation, and these sterile moths will attempt to mate with the population that's established there, and their offspring are all sterile. But that's not really a good technique. There's no labs established that will raise enough caterpillars, enough gypsy moths to be able to flood an area, especially an area as large as this. We have 26,000 acres we're talking about treating here, and it takes billions of caterpillars to do that. So that tactic is almost never used. Mass trapping is a method of using these traps I mentioned, some of these either delta traps or high capacity traps, and putting them out in such great numbers that you catch the males before they mate with the females. That can work sometimes if you have a very isolated population. It's very labor intensive because you have to go out and set these traps. It's usually 9 traps an acre, which comes out to about every 70 feet. So you walk along with a bag of traps, you just hang them on whatever you have available every 70 feet. Can be somewhat effective in dampening down a population. If the population is high enough, then it won't work because the males will still find the females. The site in Buxton, we attempted that area with all those green traps were stuck together real close, was set every 70 feet, just to see if we could try to catch enough. We use a lot of high capacity traps in there. We caught 25,000 moths in those traps. And still, that tree that I showed you, it had those 40 females on there. There's 3 traps right there in that tree, and they're all still getting mated. So, on a high population like that, it's not going to work in a large geographical area. There are a couple of insecticides called Dimilin and Mimic, which are occasionally used. We do not generally use those at all aerially because they're not approved for use over water. So any creeks or ponds or anything like that, they're harmful to any arthropods. And so we don't take those off the table. If you had an isolated tree in a pasture or something like that where there's no water around, we might use a ground mist blower or something to use that. But those are not under consideration here. The virus I mentioned has been put to a product called Gypsy. So in a lab, they will raise a bunch of caterpillars, infect them with the virus, and then the caterpillars die, and they grind up all the caterpillars into a very fine dust. It's basically caterpillars with all the hairs removed and some virus. And then put in water with some molasses so it sticks, and you apply it aerially. So it comes out of a sprayer, that comes down and lands on the leaves, and you have all this virus out there that the other caterpillars that are in the population will walk through and they'll catch this virus and they'll die, and they'll spread it through the population. That generally works only in the right conditions because this virus has to have cool, wet conditions to multiply. And it also requires a fairly high population of gypsy moth to get the epidemic started, so to speak. So this is not a high population area here, so we're not considering gypsy for this. Plus, as you might understand, if they're raising in a lab, again, you have to have a lot of lab space to do this, and they don't produce enough. The USDA actually produces the gypsy. They don't have enough space to produce enough for everybody to do everywhere. So in certain targeted places like Buxton, we're going to use that. We're talking about using that in Buxton, down in Cape Hatteras. That type of situation where you have a high population that's fairly isolated is good. I'll skip mating disruption for a moment because that's what we're talking about using here. The last thing on the list is BTK. That's a shortened version of a whole big long scientific name for a bacterium that is specific to moths and butterflies. And it affects just the larvae of those, just the caterpillars. Again, it's a chemical that's produced and is applied aerially most of the time. It can be also applied from the ground. It comes out as a fine mist and lays on the leaves. The caterpillars eat it as they're feeding, and then they get sick and die. This doesn't really spread through a population, except for the fact that it's a naturally occurring bacterium that's present in the soil everywhere. We're just concentrating it into a certain amount that will kill a great population like this. This is fairly effective a lot of times. Can be on different levels of population, but this is not under consideration for use in this situation, at this geographical location this year. What we are considering is this mating disruption. It's called flakes. So what this is, it's I have an example here. You can look at it afterwards. This is enough to treat 1 acre. Here's 6 grams dose. It's the pheromone that the female puts out to attract the males is mixed into a big laminate sheet, which is then chewed up in these little pieces that are size of pencil lead, and then put in a hopper and applied aerially. The little hopper it comes out through the hopper, and it has a little spinning wheel. So when these flakes are coming out, they disperse, and then there's a little glue that's injected as they come out through the spinning wheel, so the flakes pick up a little glue. They'll fall out of the airplane and go straight down, and they'll land in the leaves. And so they have, all these little flakes have a little bit of pheromone in them, and it doesn't take much to attract gypsy moths. There's a gentleman who lives in Surrey County I talked to on the phone, was actually worked in the lab in 1972 that was isolating this pheromone. And he was telling me how small amount it takes. It's in like picograms. I don't even know how small that is. It's so small. He says just a little bit is very effective. And so anyway, these flakes are all, we scattered them through the canopy of the forest, and they're all putting off the scent. So the males start flying around trying to find the females, and there's all this pheromone in the air, and they can't find the females because it confuses them. And so it doesn't kill anything. They don't have to eat it. It's just sitting on the leaves, sits on the leaf surfaces. We only apply it over forested areas because that's where gypsy moth is going to be. They're not going to be in pasture. They're not going to be on crops. We're interested only in putting this in a forest where the gypsy moth might be residing. And then this stuff falls down, it degrades and falls down and biodegrades and goes away. So again, it's not insecticide per se. It's not killing anything. We're not trying, you have to hit them on the head with it to kill them. They don't have to eat it. It's just there to put off a scent for the summer. And once the leaves fall with this on there, it goes down and becomes part of the leaf matter and disappears. And so that's all this is. Again, we're using the female sex pheromone. It's gypsy moth specific. This is the chemical, the only chemical a female gypsy moth uses to attract males. So it doesn't, you won't smell it. It's not anything that we pick up. It's actually very small amounts for us, but it's enough to confuse the male gypsy moths. This is what it looks like again outside this jar with a dime for sizing. It's just a handful of flakes there. There's another product that uses the same kind of technology. It's not flakes, it's actually kind of a waxy substance that has the same pheromone in it. So it's kind of a liquid version of the same thing. A plane flies over and puts out this kind of waxy droplets. The drops fall off the plane and land on the leaves. And then they put out the scent, falls with the leaves, and stuff breaks down too. It's up to the contractor. We contract the treatments, the aerial treatments out for this area. And it's up to the contractor which of these products he wants to use, but 9 times out of 10 he's going to use flakes. So I would not anticipate splat to be used. Splat is just a trade name for this product. What could you expect if we're doing an aerial treatment in the area? I know many of you, talking to Ginger, are saying that a lot of Christmas trees are treated aerially. So you've probably seen planes flying over real low planes. This is the type of the plane that the contractors use. It's a little ag tracker, ag cat type of thing. They have little hoppers up under the wings here on each side that we fill with these flakes. Each one of these planes can treat maybe 1,000 acres or so per load. They come back, they land, they refill, go back out. So we treat dawn and dusk because we want the wind conditions to be lowest. The product is relatively heavy, so when it comes out of the hoppers, it's just falling straight down. It's not going to drift any. But the planes would be bouncing around too much if it's too windy. Middle of the day is not good for treating. We're using the latest treatment technology on these planes. Again, these are very well tested out, calibrated aircraft, have the latest technology. We use GPS to fly these planes. This is an actual download from a plane that did a treatment. Where the red is where the booms were on, where he was actually dispensing product. And then the blue here is where he turned around and come back in. You can see he kind of did a flyover here around the block. And so we can, he has a little console in his airplane. He tells him right or left, and then on or off. So he's very precise in where he's putting this product. We preload you can see the edge of the block here. He has this loaded into the computer, and it tells him, flies him right into it. He has a number of swaths to do, and he comes back and we can download this and look at it on the computer and check and see how well he did. Some applicators use a rotary wing aircraft. Not going to be doing that here. We don't usually use, this contractor does not have any rotary wing helicopters. These airplanes are flying low. They fly 50 to 100 feet above the treetops, maybe more in this condition because you got the mountains. You're going to be not going to want to try to fly down in the valley too much with the load of fuel on and such. But when they get to the end of these blocks, they're doing very steep turns. You know, they come up here and they basically fly up like this and turn and come back down into the block. And so if you happen to be out watching, you'll see this plane go up like this, and it looks like he's going to crash. It's coming back down so low to the ground. But these are highly trained pilots, or the requirements for their hours in the cockpit are fairly high. And so these are not rookie guys out there flying by the seat of their pants. They're doing a great job, really. And where are we talking about treating? Most of you have seen the map that was either in the newspaper or in the mailing that you got. It's hard to tell on the scale here. This is, like I said, about 26,000 acres. The solid line is the treatment zone that we're talking about. So within this is where they'd be doing the treatment. And then we actually did mailings to everybody 2 kilometers outside the treatment zone, because the planes coming out of the block and flying over your house. And so we like to try to get as much information out there as possible, let you know what's going on. So if you're between the treatment zone and the buffer, none of this mating structure will be done over your house. You'll just have the planes flying over there. Turn the boom off before they get out. The county line runs more or less through the middle of this, and then the Blue Ridge Parkway runs basically right along Blue Ridge Parkway. If you look on the map that we have over here, the paper map, I don't have this on this particular map, but our decisions to treat were based on trap catches this summer. Along the Blue Ridge Parkway, we had a fairly high number of catches, 6 and 8 miles per trap, and these are delta traps, so you're getting pretty high port capacity in these traps. So these indicate to us that there's a population attempting to build through here, probably no fault of Virginians, but if the wind conditions are right, they're blowing out of Virginia. The caterpillars, when they're the very first small caterpillars, when they hatch out the eggs, they put off a little silk, and they climb up the top of the tree, puff a little silk, and the wind will pick them up and take them. And that's how they spread naturally. They can spread however far the wind will take them. Usually not a great distance, but in some years like this year, it could be a pretty high distance. This being a very sensitive area for tourism and Christmas trees and nurseries and the like, we're being fairly aggressive on the treatment for this. Some populations will watch to see, which way they're going, because sometimes these populations will percolate along, and then for natural reasons they'll just kind of fade out. They just didn't have enough core numbers to reproduce. The history here indicates that these great host material around here, very sensitive environment. We want to jump on this and do this. Again, it's a very low disruption type of treatment. The off-target impacts are negligible for this. It's not harmful to bees, it's not harmful to cattle, it's not harmful to people, it's not harmful to anything. It's not a product that kills anything. It just disrupts their mating. When do we do these treatments? It's hard to predict, but it depends on the weather. It's fairly predictable for here, though, to actually be probably about around the 10th of June, give or take. We want all the leaves to be expanded enough to catch these flakes when they come out. But the flakes will be putting off the pheromone through the summer, so as long as we beat the males out, that's when we want the flakes out. So right at the end of when they're pupy, turning into adults, that's when we want the flakes out. So it kind of depends on timing for other things, but somewhere in the first 15 days of June, I would say. It's hard to, let me back up. If you're interested in finding out exactly when that is, let's see. Next slide will tell you that. You can email me or put your name on the list over there and make a little note that you would wish to be emailed. I keep a list of people who would like to know immediately the latest information as to the timing. And I'll send out periodic emails, the day before we anticipate treating tomorrow morning. I'll email also that the treatments are about to start or just started, and I'll try to email right at the end and say that the treatments are finished. Also, update everything on Twitter, @NC Agriculture is a Twitter account that all that's updated through. And so I'll put up pictures of the airplanes on the airport, things like that. Some of the people who are in the field who are monitoring the treatment on the ground will send me pictures sometimes of planes flying over, and I'll post those on there just for interest's sake. But I'll also be telling everybody, when the treatments are started and what the timing is expected for those. This is what we're trying to avoid. This is in Buxton here. You can see along the road all these dead oaks, and these ones again, they came back out, but they're kind of looking scraggly right now.